What are you?
Oh gosh, it feels like I have that.
Director Diamond, can you hear us okay? Do we get audio check?
I can. Can you hear me? Okay.
We can, thank you, sir.
Okay.
You tell me later. Good evening. We'd like to call this meeting to order and welcome everybody out to our board meeting. I'm Mary Levesque and I am president. And welcome everyone. We're so excited to have you here on Zoom or in person. And we're going to get started with our land acknowledgement. And we're going to have Maddie do that.
We honor the First Peoples of these lands by acknowledging that the area in which we gather is within the traditional territory of the Stillaguamish tribe of Indians. The Stillaguamish people have inhabited these lands and waters since time immemorial, and their ancestors have remained in this territory to this day. The Stillaguamish people have continued to practice the traditional ways of their ancestors of fishing, hunting, and gathering. The Stillaguamish tribe has had these lands and cultural traditions passed on to them by their ancestors who believe that everything has a spirit and that they are caretakers of these lands and waters.
Amen. Next, we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance led by our other student advisor, Alex.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll have our roll call attendant, Madam Clerk.
Director Diamond,
Present.
Director Kelly,
Here.
Director Watts,
Present.
President Levesque,
Here.
Director Knapp,
Here.
Student Advisor Van Beek,
Here.
Student Advisor Phillips,
Here.
Superintendent Sweetie.
Here. Thank you. That brings us to our approval of the agenda. Is there any changes anyone would like to make, or do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I make a motion, we accept the, what do we call this, the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Director Kelly and seconded by Director Knapp. Or Watts, whatever you want to click, to approve the agenda. Madam Clerk.
Director Diamond,
Aye.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Watts,
Aye.
President Lebeck,
Aye.
Director Knapp.
Aye. Thank you. Our agenda is approved as presented. And next is our approval of the minutes from December 8th. Any changes, or do we have a motion to approve the December 8th meeting minutes?
I will make a motion to approve the December 8th meeting minutes.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Director Diamond and seconded by Director Knapp to approve the December 8th, 2025 meeting minutes.
Director Diamond,
Aye.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Watts,
Aye.
President Lebeck,
Aye.
Director Knapp.
Aye. All right, the minutes are approved. And we have a quick introduction. Dr. Sweeting is going to introduce.
So recently, the board, I think in December, approved a new hire, and tonight we'd like to introduce that in person to you. And I'm going to introduce first the Executive Director of Operations, Brian Lewis, for him to make that introduction.
Hello, good morning.
Okay, we'll start again.
I'd like to introduce you to Andrea Zalda, our new Director of Child Nutrition and Support Services. Andrea comes to us from Everett Public Schools, where she was a maintenance supervisor at that district. Prior to that, Mukilteo School District as a custodial supervisor, and in private industry as an HVAC and other mechanical systems administrator. So we're very happy to have Andrea with us. Would you like to say something?
No, just really excited to be here. You guys have an amazing community. The group of people that I've met so far have just a very dedicated group of individuals, and I'm really excited. So hope I can make a difference.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that introduction. It's so exciting to have our new people, get to meet them. And next, we have a very special treat. Did you want to say something?
Yes,
First, before the
Main event.
So tonight, we have stars among us. And so the school board is being honored because they are individuals and a collective team that works in total concert for student success. And they take time to come to meetings, to ask hard questions, listen to the answers to some of those hard questions, and make really hard decisions, but for one purpose, for students. So in front, there's stars tonight, and the stars say thank you, we say thank you, and I'll say more, but right now we have a special treat for our board, and I'd like to introduce Kendrick Weaver, our local teacher, a director at the high school, Arlington High School, and he's going to bring in the awesome flight students who are going to share beautiful music tonight for the board.
That looked good too.
It's gonna change the way we live. As we all sleep and navigate, and how things are changing for what it was. Break your heart, baby. And I just can't figure out how to let my skills just won't be. Tricks made of love. Always seem to have technology, algorithms, sound, all in and I'm thinking, well, that's weird. Hard to know where to begin. If I could signifies that earth when man has heard. And now every mother can choose the color of her child. That's not it's gray. Well, that's what they said yesterday. There's nothing left to do but pray. It's not a fun when you
It's something not true. It's something in the future that we have.
Always seems technology, as we all live underground.
But not
So we have 3 tunes for tonight. That's the first one. Our next one is Orange and Blue by Sarah Yaros. And with the piano tunes. 2, 3, 4.
Shadow of the summer street. Skyfall in its blues. Surrounded by the trees and cotton leaves. Things are like confused. Behind the sound of the muddy ground. Put my hands into the ground. And nothing else.
been taken by this fever dream. I kept digging up the ground, trying to figure out just what it means to find a thing that can't be found. And nothing else will do. Orange and I'm still kneeling by the water's edge. The sky is black and thunder rolls. Now I hold this heart in my hands, and I won't ever let it go. And nothing else will do. But that first is orange and blue. So we are arrived at our last 2 minutes today. Before we do that, I just want to say a quick thank you to the board and also all of our admin at the high school. They do a great job of supporting us. It makes my life a lot easier when I have the resources to really create a program that provides a lot of opportunities for kids, that helps us draw kids in. Not only like this school board in particular, but years and years of support for the arts. And we appreciate that so much, not just as a board, but also like personally. I see you guys coming and stuff. So thank you so much for that. Last song here for you is Everybody Rule the World. Everybody Wants to Rule the World. And this will feature cool cover. Ready? Oh, I'm here. Go. To your light, there's no turning back. Even while we sleep, we will find light in our back on the It's my own design, it's my own reward. Help me to decide, help me make the
So glad we almost made it. So sad they had to fade it. Everybody wants. Instead makes a decision, married with a lack of vision. Everybody wants to say that's true, never needed. One day like why we live, everybody wants
Thank you. We've got about a few more comments to make and then we're going to wait for recess and you can have some snacks. So if you just hold tight, either sit here or go out.
Go back there.
Okay, we'll
Thank
be
you.
ready in a few moments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. So, carry on with a few more thoughts about our board. I want to just say that I am this is kind of a stem from the legislative conference this weekend, but I am a proud product of public education. And I want to thank the board, probably all the boards that came, before them and in my life for the commitment that they had to the success of all students, including myself and all that are here. Horace Mann said that the public school is the cornerstone of a democratic society. And I believe that strongly. And you are officially a board of distinction, not because you filled out some application, but because you take student success to heart, to mind, and to action. And I thank you for that. I am a grateful superintendent to be part of this incredible board team. And Margaret Mead said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that has. So thank you. And now let's hear what Governor Ferguson has to say. I'd like to invite cabinet members to come up and we will read the official proclamation by Governor Ferguson.
This is almost as good as flight, so.
Right.
Whereas the mission of Washington's public school system is to ensure that all students achieve at high levels and possess the knowledge and skills to be responsible residents of a democratic society and enjoy productive and satisfying lives. And
Whereas Washington's 295 locally elected school boards and 9 elected educational service district boards are the core of the public education governance system in our state, and whereas the districts and regions they lead serve more than 1.1 million students, have a combined annual budget of over $16 billion, and employ approximately 120,000 people, and
whereas school directors play a crucial role in promoting student learning and achievement by creating a vision, establishing policies and budgets, and setting clear standards of accountability for all involved. And
whereas school directors are directly accountable to the residents of their districts and regions, serving as a vital link between members of the community and their schools. And
whereas school directors and educational service districts provide a passionate voice of advocacy for public schools and the welfare of school children. And
whereas it is appropriate to recognize school directors as outstanding public servants and champions of public education. Now therefore, I, Bob Ferguson, Governor of the State of Washington, do hereby proclaim January 2026 as School Board Recognition Month in Washington. And I encourage all people in our state to join me in this special observance. And with that, thank you. You did it nice. And with that, I'd like to turn it back to you. All right, Vivek, for recess.
Thank you for the flight choir and the kind words and the proclamation.
Yeah, and I need to say that the treats, the special treats outside are also made by our culinary arts student in the high school, Arlington High School. So they are very special, so enjoy them. So I thank the amazing, music that we heard and also for these wonderful refreshments.
It's a treat. So yes, we're going to reset this meeting briefly for the board and guests to enjoy refreshments. And it is 6:24. I think we should spend at least 10 minutes eating. What do you think? Is that okay? So we'll be back in session at 6:34. Are we back? All right, we are back from our brief recess, and so we're going to reconvene this meeting. And I want to say thank you to everybody who helped give us some appreciation. It's very appreciated. It's incredibly meaningful and touching to have students be the one to share their talents with us in such a meaningful, positive way. Delicious and heartwarming. So thank you to all that helped pull this off tonight. We're gonna move on up to our public comment portion. Do we have anybody that is wanting to speak tonight? Hearing none, we'll skip to our consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve our consent agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda as presented. I'll second.
It's been moved by Director Watts and seconded by Director Kelly to approve the consent agenda. Presented.
Director Diamond,
Aye.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Watts.
Aye.
President Lebeck,
Yes.
Director Knapp.
Yes. The consent agenda is approved. Next up is our new business portion of our meeting. We'd like to start that part off with our financial highlights of our current budget. And we'd like to welcome up Gina Zutenhorst, our Executive Director of Financial Services. Good evening.
Good evening. I am here to present just the financial highlights of the current budget as of November. So we are officially closed out the month and have all of the items posted that need to be posted. And now we can report out. We have a more detailed report on the consent agenda. So this is just highlights of what is in a more detailed format on the consent agenda. So I encourage you to take a look at that report and look at the details of it and continue to do that as the months go by. So isn't that a great picture of the
Yes.
right? A very unusual morning it was, right? It makes you wonder what's going to happen today. I feel that way about financial things from the legislature. So it's a ready picture to include here as the legislature has convened for its session and figuring out what it's going to do for all of us in the state. So here we go. We'll start with the financial health of the district. And you'll note that a lot of this is, I'm sharing this with you almost every month, but it's been a while since you've heard this from me, since we've gone through the holiday season. But we, as a board, always want to remember the financial positives that we experience as a district. These are big things. So we keep our eyes up on the big things, even as we're having to delve down into the details. So the big things, community support, our educational programs and operations levy, and our capital levy. And those are our critical pieces of school district support. The K-3 and physical, social, emotional support, PSES staff ratios, we have been in compliance with those and are continuing to be in compliance with those. And that is a strength for us. It's not easy to do. It's not just by accident. It is by design and careful planning that we are in compliance with those ratios. And if we are not in compliance with those, the state will take money away from us. So it's very important that we are in compliance. And fund balance and OSPI financial indicators score, those have increased for 24-25, the year we just closed out. And that is a good foundation for 25-26. So don't get cozied up with that too soon though, because we're going to talk about that OSPI financial indicators score at continuing to be at a high level, because I have taken OSPI's tool that they have posted up on their website. They compile the data for all of the school districts, Arlington included. And so I've taken our scores. You can see across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years history, plus the current year that we just closed out, 24-25. And that score I have listed for us, it's there at 2.6. I note that is unaudited because that part actually is not posted quite yet on OSPI's website. until they have that financial indicator score, or it may be posted, but it's unaudited. So the financial statements will be audited by the team of auditors that'll come in February, March. But until then, I just like to keep that noted as unaudited. So financial warning is what districts are categorized under if they have a score that's less than 1.75. And our score is now in the 2.6 range for 24-25. So that's what I'm talking about when we say a positive, a financial strength, that is increased. But the estimates for 25-26, the estimates of that future score were at a 1.85, and less revenue due to less student enrollment may impact our ending fund balance for 25-26. So that score is likely going to result in a decrease. So we will continue to track that, but also to keep it in perspective that districts with financial warning scores of less than 1.75 in 23-24 and the year before that, 22-23 fiscal years, there were 18 school districts that were considered to have that warning, that score under 1.75. And when you look at the history prior to that, there had been only 1 or 3 or 5, just a handful of school districts that were in that range. So it just goes to also show that the horizon across the state, and with the funding model that the state has propagated over the years, is coming to pass, that districts are struggling and it's not working how you might have hoped. Fund balance trend. We look at this each month. It's important to see where we're going. And our fund balance as of November month end was 2.37 million. And this chart shows 4 years of history. The line at the top, the pink line, that was back in 22-23 fiscal year. And the navy blue line that's kind of in the middle now, that goes and ends on November, the dot ends on the November line. That's where we are for this fiscal year, 25-26. And you can see that we are beginning to eclipse the line, the yellow line, and the very low line, the turquoise line. We're beginning to eclipse that, show higher numbers than those past 2 years, which were very low points for us or low fiscal years as we were implementing reduced budgets, and for those past few years, trying very hard to now rebuild our fund balance. And it's following the trend that it normally would, with the ups and downs, and October and April being the high points, but June being the very low point. And question?
I have a little question. I can't quite remember. What was the last year that we got ESSER funds for the COVID?
I believe that 22-23 still involved some, but
it's a little bump up.
It was like 3 years
from
worth of-
December.
I would have to double check. It's so far back now, but
So the shape of the line was probably the lower 3, right?
yeah, we were still getting. It's 2019.
Lynn, last year wasn't 23-24, because we were 25-26, that's 24.
We were not receiving any in 23-24.
Okay.
24.
But when they got handed out.
0. And if none of those, the big ESSER dollars, those were all prior to that. And I believe 22-23 we were still receiving. Now I can double check that. If I'm incorrect, I will let you know.
Because there's a little bit of a bump up in December, in the pink year. That's not the same.
Yeah, and we haven't posted up for December yet. Or
It doesn't
this year.
usually go up much. It usually goes down, right?
And it did go down from November to December. It always goes down a little bit. And it does.
I was just observing I think it looks more of a significant increase, like even the jump from beginning of fund balance to September was down, and then it goes way up again for October, and it's down again. It'll be interesting to see the time, what we get over the next couple months.
Right. So in October, it's the second collection of the calendar year, and it has a higher amount than in previous Octobers.
And collection of
The property
property taxes, as I was thinking, yeah, because that's 2 times a year, April, October, is that what that, yeah. And
October and, yeah, April.
April, yeah.
So moving right along, but if we're continuing to go on the same kind of trend with revenues and expenditures, we kind of start to graze down lower in the next few months until we get our next round of property tax collections in April. So we'll talk some more about the challenges, and I'll come back to here, but the potential for interfund loan. Because that follows what's happening with fund balance and how close we're gonna get in the next few months. Sorry, I'm pushing the button the wrong way.
Going like really fast. Gina's on fire tonight.
It's just,
Okay. Fund balance, and now, are there any more questions about that before okay. So we've touched on the financial challenges for the district. We talked about our positives, we talked about our challenges, and how many districts across the state are facing that financial difficulty due to flaws in the state funding model that are becoming more evident as we get further along since the McCleary decision and moving on and on and on through the fallout from all of the impacts of the decisions there. And the fact that OSPI Financial Indicators Tool has financial warning for 18 districts, but also the State Auditor's Office has a tool out there as well. They call it their FIT tool, Financial Intelligence Tool. And they take a lot of data and factors as well and make comparatives and score districts. And more than 75% of the 295 Washington State school districts have cautionary concerning financial indicators. So that's a sign. And we made budget reductions for 23-24, 24-25. We're continuing to work to rebuild our fund balance. And unique to this year, and the challenge is that Arlington School District students, 72 students less than we estimated. So we're still pretty steady, we would say, in a steady enrollment, and we're really very close on our enrollment estimates. But even just a small percentage different than what we estimated or planned can do that for us, where we're off by just that many students, different, less than what we planned. And we staff based on what we planned. And we also estimate revenues based on what we planned. But when we have less than what we planned for the students, then we get less revenue than we planned. And yet we are not adjusting our staffing mid-year. So it kind of locks us in a little bit, and that's the way it is for school districts. We are locked in on that, but it does have an impact. So it may impact our fund balance some coming out of this fiscal year. So again, interfund loans are going to be proposed to meet cash flow obligations during the low months, and especially during June and summer.
is that a lower amount of students in the kindergarten since we're singing across the state? Or is it people moving out of our?
And I think it is kindergarten, and I'm going to take a pause because I'm going to turn for help from my neighbors. You guys remember exactly where it's at, Harry or Brian?
It's on the FTE head count.
For the less enrollment that we're under, where did they not come in at? Was it kindergarten?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
But it's more, this year it's more broad. There is some at the high school level too. But
So
could
that have
be more-
moved out of our district? or-
Could be Running Start.
Oh.
So students that choose to go to Running Start, then that's, you know.
Gina, I have a question about that too. Would it be more prudent to take a very ultra conservative estimate then when the demographer tells us what we could expect? I know we've tended to, as a board, the past couple of years that I recall, have taken more of a middle approach to a number. And I'm wondering, would that be more beneficial to be even more conservative on enrollment and then we budget for that, and then I'm just saying, I wondered if that was a better tack than maybe taking the middle this year, going into 25.
I think that's a good wondering, and I think that you'll get to ponder that more as you look at the presentation on enrollment from Brian here shortly.
Okay.
And that's a first reading, and then there's a second reading as well. So, I mean, we'll talk about it today and then at the next board meeting as well. So there'll be time to make those thinkings known.
Yeah.
Yes, and then last point on this slide, federal funding. There's still a lot of uncertainty around federal funding for the next fiscal year, more so now. We're hearing about 25 to 30% reduction in some of our federal funding sources potentially. And there was a lot of uncertainty around our federal funding for this year as well. And much of that has kind of leveled out as far as knowing what we're going to actually receive for this fiscal year. But there's still a lot of uncertainty around federal funding.
There's something about that 72 students. When does the state level up or whatever, what is that called when?
January, when we get our January apportionment at the end of this month, they will now adjust our allocation to the actual average FTE as of January. And then they will continue to pay as us according to the actual. The first few months, September, October, November, December, those months, they pay our basic apportionment based on what we budgeted. So in January, they will drop our apportionment down. And we will see that in our January reports. And we've been planning for that now. See, we're going to receive less than what we thought.
That's a raise point. Do we have to pay money back that was allocated? No.
No.
So we just.
They take the adjustment and spread it out across the rest of the year. Yes, so there we go. And then talking about potential interfund loans from our capital fund, as we have done for the last few years, we have needed to come to that conclusion to request an interfund loan, and we will be, next agenda item is a discussion, a resolution proposal for an interfund loan again for this fiscal year. Now, our fund balance is higher, so we're not running into the need for it as soon as we did last year, which is good. But I am still coming to you early to make sure that we have the flexibility and that we can handle any variables that come along that might swing our fund balance just a little, even enough in a month where we might need an interfund loan. So I'm coming out of an abundance of caution for the winter months. And in June, that's the lowest point of the year. So we would be needing a loan in June. So we'll revisit needs as the summer approaches and request an interfund loan during that time if necessary. The resources through the end of the fiscal year will be sufficient to reimburse the capital fund with interest. So there's a chance that the interfund loan capacity that we request today in the next agenda item for board resolution, there's a chance that that may suffice for June as well. Like if we do not need to access it and it's sufficient for June, then we wouldn't need to come back to request another interfund loan. So we will have to wait to see how that plays out. But the resources, again, through the end of the fiscal year will be sufficient to reimburse the fund, the capital fund with interest. And we always keep this slide in here because it tells us the history of why we are where we are with the conditions around fund balance and what was happening before now. So I won't read that to you, but it's always there. You can see it in the board presentation if you're wanting to study the presentation any further. So questions?
Dr. Diamond online have any questions about our current
Nope,
budget.
no questions for me.
Thanks, Matt. We else have any other questions? All right, Gina, don't go too far. The next agenda item we can move on to is the resolution 2601 interfund loan.
So I'll just go ahead and start talking about it. The district, as we've said, we're carefully tracking fund balance and monthly cash flow levels. And state apportionment funding, the primary source of district revenues, will decrease to align with actual enrollment during the months of January through August. And it's expected that that will further confound our already low levels of cash flow, and shortfalls may be experienced during the remaining months of the 25-26 fiscal year. So out of abundance of caution, we're requesting now to have the interfund loan authorization in place, cumulative amounts not to exceed 2 million. And that's less than we asked for last time at this time of year to ensure, or even earlier in the year, sorry. And that's to ensure that we can meet the obligations as they're coming due. And the month of June and into mid-July until the state apportionment is received at the end of July and August are the most at risk for low cash flow. So we, like I said, we may ask for additional board authorization depending on what we've had to access into that point in time as needed. And again, we will have the resources received later within this fiscal year that will allow us to fully repay those interfund loans to the capital projects fund with interest. And let's see, I did estimate a little bit on interest costs to give you an idea of what that is. It's difficult to measure, not really knowing exactly how much we would have to take for in a month's time, or possibly not having to access it till June. But if we had to, for example, access 600,000 in the month of January, let's just say, and that was outstanding for 1 month, we're using an interest rate that is what Snohomish County Treasurer uses. We would apply that. And for 30 days, that would cost us about $1,925. And in an alternate example, if 2 million was needed during the month of June and it was outstanding for 30 days, that month would cost about $6,415. So combined, the range could be anywhere from 2,000 to 10,000 over the course of the next months, depending on what we need to utilize. We pay it back as quickly as we can, cognizant of the interest costs. So we pay it back as quickly as we can to reset that and zero it out. So, and have it all paid by the end of the fiscal year. So, are there any questions about the interfund loan resolution?
Any questions, Matt?
Nope, none from me.
All right, this is an action item. Do we have a motion to approve Board Resolution 2601 interfund loan?
Make a motion to approve resolution 2601 interfund loan.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Knapp and seconded by Director Watts to approve Board Resolution 2601 interfund loan.
Director Diamond,
Aye.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Watts,
Aye.
President Levesque,
Aye.
Director Knapp.
Aye. Interfund loan is approved. Hopefully we don't have to use very much. Thank you, Gina, for all the details. And we'd like to welcome up or back Brian Lewis, our Executive Director of Operations, for our student enrollment preview.
Thank you. Just one question, is this available?
Has it been eaten yet? Has it
No,
been
no.
started?
I think it's-
I think it's fair game.
Although there's flu around, so don't.
I don't know. Infection prevention probably.
Are you guys saving that for me?
For years, for
We're drooling over our guard show. You're like, oh.
Okay. Okay, good evening, everybody. I got the time period right this time. Brian Lewis, Executive Director of Operations. This is our enrollment preview presentation for the 26-27 school year. In the past, I think it was until, I think last year was, maybe it was last year or the year before, we generally held off on enrollment, talking about enrollment projections until February board meeting. But given the state of the district's general fund, we decided to accelerate that and start talking about enrollment preview now because of the implications it has on our budgeting process, which this is the beginning of. Tonight, we're going to talk about some definitions, things that influence enrollment, the methodologies that we use, and the current projection for 26-27. I'm offering this information to you to set the context because people talk about enrollment without really distinguishing what the actual kind of enrollment it is that we're talking about, because they have different implications. For the purposes of budgeting for operations, the state of Washington considers the annual average full-time equivalency of our students that we have, or AAFTE or FTE, can be used in shorthand description as well. And that AAFTE is a formula-driven calculation that describes the presence of a student in our school for what period of time for each month, each enrollment month throughout the year, which is September through June. So if a student begins the school year with us and they take 6 classes with us, or they're with us for the full day, and then they stay with us for every 10 months of the enrollment period, and that's considered a 1.0 FTE. Not every student is a 1.0 FTE, particularly when we get into the secondary or high school level, because some students go to Running Start part of the day, or to the Skills Center for part of the day, or they just have met their credit requirements for graduation and they only need 1 or 2 classes to finish that graduation requirement up. So those students are less likely to count as a 1.0 FTE for purposes of enrollment reporting. Head count is a different form of calculation, different form of recording the student's presence. And it's the total number of people that are in a building, total number of students in a building throughout a day. For example, at the high school, Arlington High School, a student can be present for half the day because they're enrolled in another program, but that student is still counted as a 1 for head count purposes. So really, we use that to describe the capacity of the building, how many people can that building, how many students can that building support. So from here forward in this presentation, we're going to be referring to annual average FTE, which I provided a definition straight out of the WAC for you. They're with us taking classes for 5.5 hours each day, every day that we're in operation, unless they're excused for some reason. And if they do that every month throughout the year, then they count as 1.0 FTE, and it goes down from there based on their presence or enrollment with us. So here's a list of the things that can influence how many students are in our schools. Births is the primary influencer, and I believed it was the overriding one until 2020, 2021, when we experienced the pandemic, and that had a huge effect on our enrollment. It's more temporary in nature than the number of births within a region, but it is definitely has a huge impact. Transitions are another influence on our enrollment that describes how many kids are with us from each grade level to the next grade level. There are some changes that occur, particularly in K1 or 8, 9, and we'll talk about those in just a minute. Construction, and specifically referring to residential construction and not commercial construction. Residential construction is describes the total number of dwellings within a school district boundaries. And the more of those that are available, the more likely a school district's enrollment will increase. Mobility, Americans are famously mobile. We move from place to place all the time. So there could be changes to the school district's enrollment based on people moving from one place to another, which results in withdrawal from school or enrollment in the school, which we have experienced. I'm going to take a few moments here and talk about the key factor of births in our enrollment. And this is an excerpt from a demographics report produced by Flow Analytics. We received the draft of this report in December. And we'll have, when we receive the full report, I'll come back to you and report to you on some of the major features of it. But this chart describes the number of births within a school district and how those births, and this is Arlington School District information, how those births translate or relate to kindergarten enrollment 5 years after the births have occurred. And this factor, this ratio here describes how many births have occurred, or excuse me, how many students who were born 5 years earlier enroll in our schools at a later point in time. So if it's as an example, 1.3, then 30% more students enrolled in kindergarten that were born within the zip code. On the opposite end of that, you can see in 25-26, we only had 93% of students who were born in 1920 enrolled in our schools in 25-26. So this ratio is important for us to project into the future. And as births are recorded, we can use that information with our knowledge of the ratios that have occurred in the past to project what it's going to look like moving forward. So for kindergarten enrollment, we're looking at births in 2021, 2020, 2021. We know that in the prior year, we experienced a decline in terms of the number of kids showing up for kindergarten that were born here. We're going to use that same factor to project births for next year for 26, 27 as well. So there is that fewer students, we're anticipating fewer students enrolling in our schools that were born 5 years ago. Yes, ma'am.
That's a big question I probably should have asked a couple of years ago. How do we get the information about the births? Is it something that we get from like the county or the state or?
So back when I was a baby business manager in the state of Washington for a school district, we used to be able to get that information at no cost from the Department of Health. The Department of Health still compiles that data, but they charge an annual fee for us to access it. Luckily, well, maybe not luckily, but because we employed Flow Analytics to help us with a demographic analysis, they acquired that data. We're still paying for it. It's just in the form of a fee to Flow Analytics to give it for us. I want to jump forward just a minute here and talk about what our experience is in terms of actual enrollment to budgeted enrollment. Because you saw that there's variations in live births and who shows up later on at our schools. This year in particular, in 2011, 2012, enrollment year of 17-18, we've had a 30% increase between births and enrollments. So there were people moving into the area substantially in the 5 between 11, 12, 17, 18. That's why we've got more students enrolled than were born here. And the opposite could be inferred as well. If we're less than one, then either people have left the area, families have left the area, or families are making a different choice than our school district to enroll their students in. A couple of years ago, Board President Levesque asked me to generate this data and share it with you, which shows our experience in terms of the actual enrollment versus budgeted enrollment. And so the way this table is laid out, it shows the methodology that we use, which I'm going to touch on in just a few minutes, in year, our actual enrollment, and what we budgeted for basic ed and the differences, and then a calculation in terms of percentage, showing how far off the mark were we in terms of our estimate. So we went from, we've gone all the way from 3.4% positive in 17-18 to negative 6.8% in 21, 22. This is a very humbling year in a lot of ways, because it motivated us to change the enrollment methodology or the estimating methodology that we use from weighted average to a more conservative April roll-up methodology. And we're starting to get, within the 2% range, or we're within the 2% range in the plus with this methodology, except for this year. We're still 2% below, which, the personal target that I set for my own estimate is that we're within 2%. So we're still within that range, but we're on the wrong side of that. We should be on the positive side. So Sherry had asked about methodologies, and those methodologies, you can see we made a change during my tenure here. But the methodologies that we use, there's 3 different methodologies that we use. So the reason we use different methodologies is to make sure that we're within the ballpark of feasibility. If we see an enrollment projection that is way more than what the other two, one methodology presenting an estimate that is way higher or way lower than the other two, then that's an outlier. It's not statistically valid. So we won't use that one most likely unless we've got some real concrete data to back it up. So we use April roll-up, weighted historical average, and OSPI cohort survival. OSPI generates this for us, and it's based on demographic data that the state Department of Enterprise Services generates. What they're looking at is changes in population across years, and they're estimating that whatever change that we're seeing over the past 5 years is going to repeat in the next 5 years. So OSPI cohort survival tends to be a lot more sensitive to changes. It amplifies them across time. The weighted historical average, we look at what we're experiencing in the current year and assume that we're going to have a similar experience in the next year in terms of growth or change or decline throughout the year in student populations. April roll-up, we project what's going to happen in April of the current year and assume that those same students are going to show up in the next year. So each one of them generates a different enrollment projection. And each one of them has its qualities, as long as you understand that each methodology has its own attributes. For example, volatility. Cohort survival is the most volatile of the methodologies. It's also the least conservative in nature as well. And when I say conservative, I'm not talking in terms of politics, but in terms of the way decisions are considered or data is considered. It's most careful. Further out you get on this axis, the more careful or conservative the estimate gets. The higher up you get on the far axis, if that's X or Y, I can't recall. One of you high school students.
Why is it also?
Y? Okay, thank you. The higher you get up on the Y axis, the more volatile it is and the less conservative in nature. It has a purpose, but right now we're tending to be more conservative in terms of our recommendations for enrollment. So it's going to be either weighted historical average or April roll-up would be our recommendation. We're not making a recommendation at this meeting, but setting the stage to make a recommendation at the next meeting. So given the demographic data that we have available to us and what our current student enrollment is, you can see for basic ed, this is where the basic ed line ends. These other ones are open doors and running start, although open doors is part of the basic ed programs. The FTE is counted in a different way. Looking at 106 in the current year, down from budget. On the April roll-up, where we're assuming everybody's moving to the next grade that's with us now, we would project a 51 FTE decline in basic ed. On the weighted average, we would project a 12 FTE decline in basic ed. So this is practically status quo. And with the cohort survival, it would project a 35 FTE increase from our current situation. And by grade level, using the weighted average methodology, we would look at a decrease of 99 FTE compared to this year. You can see the April rollout and the weighted average and the cohort survival are all very similar to one another. So this tends to lead to a more confidence, a higher level of confidence in this projection. Similar for K or 6 through 8, similar for 9 through 12. K through 8, or excuse me, 6 through 8 on the cohort survival is a little bit lower. So overall, it would be a net 9 FTE decrease when we consider open doors and running start. A net 12 decrease if we just consider K-12. And that's in the medium range. And then this is the grade level detail as well. And you can see that there's a fairly substantial change coming to us, a decline in kindergarten. Next biggest decline would be grade 3 in the K-5 range. 6 through 8, a decrease in grade 6, pretty substantial decrease. And then 9 through 12, a fairly substantial increase because of transition from 8th grade into 9th grade. And all of those are very much in line with one another, very close. Some other information that I pulled from the draft demographic report. This is really more informative and could have an impact on the enrollment estimate. Right now, it's just, I'm providing this for your information. This is about, this chart describes population changes in Snohomish County and the Arlington Public School District, City of Arlington, and City of Marysville as well. You can see there's been, since the 2000 census, almost a 270,000 increase in population, which is substantial. That's a lot of people. In Arlington, the population in the district boundaries has increased from 23,000 to 35 or 36,000. Most of that within the city of Arlington, some of that within the city of Marysville, not enough to be meaningful for us. You can see that in Snohomish County, there's been a 1.6, 1.5, 1.1% increase across these different census periods. So the trend is towards more people moving here, but what are those ages? And that's what we can divine some information or derive some information from this next table, which shows the Arlington School District boundary populations in 2000, 2010, 2020, divided by age groups. And you can see as we move through time, the share of people under the age of 18 in the district has declined from 29% in the 2000 census to 23.7% in the 2020 census. This is reflective of a national trend, actually a global trend of a declining birth rate. So that is going to have an effect on us. And it may be that we're not necessarily going to experience a declining enrollment, but not one growing in the same way that we were in the early 2000s, 2010s. Construction has slowed. It is having an effect on the number of people moving here. So that's another pillar that leads to the lends credibility to the concept that we will be experiencing a stable enrollment population through 2040. So that is the extent of my presentation tonight. In February, or excuse me, the next meeting in January, we'll have school level detail for you as well, and a recommendation. Yes, Mary.
A question. I don't know if it's been approved yet, but isn't there a new development coming to Arlington, like East Hill or something like that? What's the status of that? Is it gonna happen?
So I've heard different things and nothing confirmed yet, but I believe that the project is still in play. It's still being developed. There is going to be more construction here. We know that from our student generation rate that's developed during the impact fee calculation, the single family homes do produce more students than multifamily. So that could have an effect on enrollments moving forward. It's going to take a long time though, because a development like the one that's being considered, the infrastructure has to be constructed first. Streets, water, sewer, electricity, all those things that support a dwelling, they have to be in place, and then construction can begin on the homes that would fill up that development. It's going to take a significant period of time before it has a trickle-down effect on us.
You.
I have another question. What, do we know a percentage of students that live outside the district that come into our district for the school services?
Yeah. I believe we're about 600 kids net gain from out of district transfers into the district. I believe we also have about 300 kids that go to other districts for school as well. They may not necessarily physically leave here, but they may be in an online program that they're enrolled in and not attending here.
Those in Running Start, if they participate in an extracurricular like a sport or a zero, they're not counted in this?
No.
It's only just those that are.
Running Start, has some financial effect on us in that we pay the enrollment or the tuition for those students that attend Running Start programs, and the state reimburses us for that. We get to keep a percentage of that revenue for our overhead, so to speak, in terms of the enrolling and paying the bills for those students. It's not a huge amount.
Yeah, and it doesn't, the loss of FTE is, that's one thing to think about for tomorrow when we have our conversation with the joint board. They're talking about where are we with, when, about the AA being able to, for a student to earn an AA degree on our own campus.
Okay.
Thank you for
Thank
that
you, Brian.
preview. The numbers to come. When are we gonna have you come back and go over this again next meeting?
Yes.
End of January.
That's when you take action.
Okay, yay. So we'll get our crystal balls out. All right, next up is our policies. We have our first reading of board policy 1630, evaluation of the superintendent. Dr. Sweeting.
Yes, so what's been added by the Boston group is this section below here that talks about RCW 28A1 to D230. And really and the one below too, that RCW, all relate to evaluation of all staff, teachers included. And right here, they want it to be overt that within the evaluation of myself by the board, that it says that the evaluation process looks at these 8 categories, so we've been working on a new tool, and we're going to look at it one more time again on the January 26th study session, and we'll talk about how are these embedded into that process. I did get a response back from WASDA about this situation, so I'll share that. At the very bottom, this is key, WASDA provides a goal-centered model to support the effective evaluation of the superintendent. That's the one we have already reviewed. So, basically these 8 criteria are embedded in that process. And so, but we'll talk more at the study session, but this was WASDA sent this to us, and this is what they have asked boards to consider, revising this policy. And we'll just address more about what does that look like, in action. This is first reading.
Any changes, questions? Did this change the classification to?
Yes, it's critical instead of essential.
Don't hear any comments, questions, or changes suggested. So the next one up for first reading is 3143, notification and dissemination of information. Sounds like a song about student offenses and notification of threats of violence or harm. That's a very long title. And we'd like to welcome our Executive Director of Teaching and Learning, Carrie Henderson. Very long title.
It's a long title and it's kind of a long policy. There's a lot of detail that is spelled out in the policy around, big discipline and the proper management and notification of it. The only change aside from what you see with Arlington School being crossed out just district is at the very end. There is a paragraph that's been added about the rapidity with which principals or other school personnel must notify parents or guardians in the event of a violent act being committed at school or during an activity. And it says immediately. There are other places in the policy where it doesn't use the word immediately. It says in a timely manner. But notification in these extreme situations does require immediate communication with parents or guardians. So.
And it's on school property. I see that that's the other.
Or school activity, so it could be a sporting event.
Okay, but it's
Offsite, but
related,
it's-
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so. It also has reference to communicating with parents immediately if a student is detained as being potentially involved in, so.
Define immediate.
That's a good question. Faster than timely?
Okay.
I'd say in a couple.
1 second, it seems immediate. 5 minutes seems pretty darn fast.
As quick as possible.
An hour, like,
I think as soon as the situation, as soon as kids are safe. And as soon as the communicator has enough of an understanding of the situation to be able to communicate what the situation was and what the concern is regarding the student that they're contacting the adult over. That's how I would define immediate. But kids say first and a degree of understanding because the point
That
of this
report,
is
some people
communication.
don't know that.
We don't have much to tell you, but it doesn't feel good if you get that phone call. So.
Really question. Detained, how would that be described, like pulled into the principal, like what's the line of?
I would classify it, it's a good question. I would classify detained as anything that has to do with having a student, held in the principal's office or in a room with the potential of being interviewed by police or the gravity of the situation means I want you to know as the parent that we are talking to your child about this really great.
I was wondering if that had to do with the SRO or not, like could detained mean without, or would it have to be? It could be without, okay.
Potentially.
Okay.
But the
Okay.
key here is that this is if they believe that there
Right.
could have been a
Probable
crime,
cause is already
crime,
there.
Right.
has
Because then
taken
there's-
place, and they want to
Yeah.
make sure that parents are notified immediately. Their
Mhm.
son or daughter may have. committed
Right.
a crime.
They go together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I just was
Time to
wondering.
unravel it.
Yeah.
Uncover
great
what's going
question.
on.
It's a good question.
It's legalese. Mhm.
any other question? Matt, up in the ceiling, do you have any questions?
No questions from me.
Yeah, initial one.
Thank
you.
Carrie. Next up is our second reading and adoption of board policy 2420, grading and progress reports. We'd like to welcome back Carrie Anderson Burke.
Been so long. Thank you. So in this is our second read, but this is kind of a case of our policy catching up to our practice. But this is just informing parents that they will know about their child's progress and particularly if there's a possibility that the student will be retained, that there's a higher level of communication around that. And a reminder that parents have the right to ask at any point in time to meet and talk over strategies for greater success for their student. Yes.
Sort of a joke question. I'll ask it. I'm curious if there was a way for the district to request that the guardians become involved in their child's academic success, because, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I feel like it's a two-way street.
It is. Yes, we like it. We like the partnership idea. So, and we do have, conferences twice a year, and that's part of what's intended with that. But yes, along with that is, uncountable communications initiated by teachers and schools to talk with parents about the learning that's happening there.
This is student advisor. Vote. Do our student advisors have any thoughts or? Well, does anybody have any changes they would like to make to this? Let's see. We'd like our student advisors to weigh in, and we'll start with student advisor Phil.
I would vote yes.
Thank you, student advisor Van Beek. And do we have? 2420?
I'll make a motion, we approve the second reading and adoption of board policy 2420, grading and progress reports.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Director Kelly and seconded by Director Watts to approve policy 2420. Madam Clerk.
Director Diamond,
Aye.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Watts.
Aye.
President Levesque,
Aye.
Director Knapp.
Aye.
The board has approved policy 2420. And that brings us to our informational items. We'd like to start with our superintendent report. I'd like to first share that this past weekend, Sherry Kelly, Director Kelly, and Jeannie Zutenhorst and myself, we attended the state legislative conference in CTAC. And I would describe it as the best that I've ever attended, and I've gone to many. And the reason for that is because it was totally focused on students. The conference began with students singing. Of course, I love that. And then it ended with a student panel. And the theme was just all in for students. So it was very focused on students. And the our lieutenant governor for the state of Washington, Denny Heck, he spoke on the Saturday morning. And he said that you advocate for students by asking students. So that was very much the top of the list of what was happening during that conference, and a lot of good breakouts and a lot of networking and a lot of good information. And then my next item is thank you, awesome board, for being awesome in every way. And looking forward to our joint meeting tomorrow, which starts at 6:30, a little bit different time. So 6:30 in the Lincoln Room upstairs. And our three topics are academic pathways, high school and beyond plans, and then the AA degree in high school on our own campus. That's what I have. Thank you for sharing. I'm so excited. It was a good one.
It was great.
And that brings us to our legislative update and discussion. Director Kelly.
So today begins the new legislative session, 60 days. It's over in March. I'm on the legislative committee. I met with them on Friday. That's what got me down there, being there not for a 9 a.m. meeting. Good to understand the people in the room a little bit who I will be working with. We're going to be meeting every Thursday. I think it's about an hour on Zoom, and we'll be discussing like where the bills are, what's coming through. I'm excited. I'm just like, my people, super excited. But it's like, I was already introduced, just even something came up yesterday because they do bills that are pre-filed in like December. But as much as I'd like to share something with you all, it doesn't seem like a good use of time because this might not even make it to a committee. It might even not get a hearing, but I am excited about moving the needle. But I think one of the things, and I think Dr. Sweeting and Jean will remember this as well. One of the top three, I don't know if I wrote all these down, but really one of the top three things is we are asking the legislature to put a pause on any unfunded mandate and take any existing unfunded mandates off the table. So that's a big one. Of course, we still have MSOC. I don't even think special ed is even on the top three this session.
Just the sales tax.
The sales tax, right. So there's services that hospitals were in there. Somehow the word public education didn't make it in there, so we're gonna see if we can get that reinserted. Anyway, so I'm on the Ledge Committee. I'm excited about that opportunity to understand our role and our push. We have to appreciate that the legislature has many other bills they consider. Of course, I only think of education and I forget about everyone else, but that's our lens, that is our whole focus. When I attended different breakout sessions, and I know my friend, we attended last year, I forget the gentleman, it was about student advocacy. He was talking about take the bite, the nibble, and the crock pot, right? Do you remember that? That was so funny. Eric and I remember, and he had a similar slide this year. But I attended the student advocacy. I think we do a great job here, but it is always interesting to know what other people do. So I, being on my phone, took my notes, and in talking with Sarah Betnell is also on the Ledge Committee. She's at Shoreline. They have a junior and a senior from each high school. Thought that was interesting. Mount Vernon, I'm on there with, her name is Laura, and Laura is a professor at Still-Gomish, Still-Gomish now? Skagit Valley College. They have rotating student advisors. So, I run that idea by as something to explore. And the other thing that was interesting was that what they really appreciated was I said that we, as a high school student, I said, we did a chord for our high school students. And she's like, oh my gosh, I didn't think about that. She was very excited. So she's glad I brought that up. So just let you know. And then I think Shoreline offers credit. Just saying, something to think about. So they offer credit for their students on their board. Anyway, I don't need to read all this to you right now, but I just appreciated hearing other people, what they're doing. We had the opportunity to go to another table. The kids were all coagulated on our table, and then we moved around, and I had 3 young ladies join my table, and just really sitting down and getting to know them. I wish I had that opportunity because I'm around first graders all day, and they're at a different, they're at the other end of the spectrum. But the high school young ladies, the one that I said, so what's hard right now? What I said, oh, the doldrums. January, it's just so tough. And also just the pressure. And I have a hard time going back and saying, I felt pressure too. I had to perform at a certain level, right, to get into college. But I will say there's 2 things I would factor in. The media we have today puts a lot, but not just on the kids, but on the parents. We want the best for you guys. We do. We want success, right? And so we feel the pressure, and then it trickles down here to you all. Like, we want you to be at the level you need to be to then rise, right? So I think parents are under that pressure as you are under pressure, and it's just unknowns, right? We feel like the world is very dynamic today, more dynamic than we have known up to this point. So it's hard for us to know, where should we send you? What's the path, right? But I do think, and I attribute this a little bit, Dr. Sweetie, the resilience, right? The resilience, the growth mindset. I think if that's like a skill, that's like intrinsic, that's in your core, because then you can weather these things. You can be prepared for, I'm on my 4th career change, or I had a career bump and I had to leave this field. Like, there's going to be things like that, right? So I think if you have that in your core, I think that's going to help whatever that looks like for you. I think that's important. But anyway, I enjoyed the speakers at the Ledge conference. I find them all great. I mean, I always come back with a little something. I think that's the key. They make us fill the surveys out like, what was best about this? Or I'm like, I don't know what was excellent, but it was good. It was worth my time. And that's what I want to argue, is that it was definitely worth my time. And always looking for feedback. Oh, this is the other thing I said. So I asked Sarah. So she's at Shoreline, and they have a lot of kids over there. I don't know if it's 12,000 or something students population, maybe 16. And I said, well, how do our students get the feedback of their kids? So here's what they do. They have an Instagram account. So they'll put out a question and then it blasts out. So I don't know if you could send out this is the AHS, feedback team or something, really cool name. And then you would have people that you don't interact with responding, and you have Weston, right? So you get that feedback. And the second thing, have cookie for your thoughts. So you sit at a table with a bunch of Costco cookies, and people come up and they're just genuinely talking to you. Because that's my concern, is like, we've always had representatives, but that's only a percentage of what the kids that you see every day. You're not going to certainly know everybody. The class president doesn't know everybody. But how can we go to, as we say, we even teach to the four corners. How do we go to the four corners of the room and get that feedback? And then you all bring it back to the board and say, what's the real deal? I don't want to know about the dance and how yeah, we like those updates on the positive things, the activities you're doing, but I also want to know what's not working. Where do you, as the young people, that's the courageous conversation we need to hear. And I want to task you and embolden you to say, yeah, I want to find out. We'll find out. So anyway, that's my takeaway. And I look forward to giving you more updates with our short session.
Glad you guys were able to go to that lunch conference. That's amazing. Next up is our comments from board members, and we're going to start with our student advisors. And we'd love to hear how you're faring with school and what's going on. So we'll start with student advisor Phillips.
Okay, hi. First, I'm gonna start off with some really good news. I don't know if you all remember, I was applying to be a part of a national student council for a nonprofit that works to make schools a safer place for our students. Hi, God. So I'm going to be working nationally with my activism once again. So I'm quite excited. We had my very long orientations this weekend with 5 hours on Zoom. So it was very fun. And not exhausting at all. But it was very eye-opening. I'm one of the only representatives from Washington. The rest are in like California and then like all the way on the other side. So I have a very unique point of view coming from this area. So I'm very excited. That's my main thing. I'm excited to really represent our students in Washington, but also in Arlington, and kind of be like, this is what I'm seeing out. And we also to share with you guys what's coming in from our national level. So
I can't wait for that.
Congratulations.
Very excellent. Thank you for representing us.
Next up is our student advisor, Van Beek. And I know she has some good news to share.
Oh, well, my break off. Actually, it was really sick. I got sick on Christmas.
Oh.
Like, this one, I'm not supposed to say. I'm excited to be back at school. Being caught up in my work. I got it, guys. It's okay. But I'm excited. This Sunday, I'm the Darrington Timberwolf Rodeo crowning, and the crowning is the top 4 contestants who competed the pageant. They get crowned and they know their titles. So I made it to the top 4, and I just find out if I'm a queen or a princess.
Oh, you're a queen no matter what.
Yeah, so I'm excited for that. If anyone wants to come, you're welcome to. But yeah.
Very nice. That's exciting. You worked hard for it. Yeah, that's good.
Hang up. Hang in there.
We have royalty. We have royalty among us.
So let's go first. Matt, do you have anything you want to share with us from Ceiling?
Nothing from the ceiling guy tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Director Knapp.
Yeah, just getting back into the routine after winter break. It was a wonderful break and really ready to get back. Kids back in the routine. Thank you for the appreciation. And I forgot that anything was happening, and I want to say thank you to the Flight Fire and the musician, Mr. Weaver, the culinary students, and I know that like Brenda and everybody in this office had a lot to do with all the tiny details. So just want to show my appreciation for that, and excited to meet with Lakewood tomorrow.
Thank you. Director Kelly, anything else you want to add?
No, just I just found it interesting that the young ladies I was talking to were looking forward to spring break as much as I was. So I mean, it's just you forget that lens. Like you always think like, oh, the teachers, this is their job. It's like, no, we've already counted down the 12 weeks till the conference week, and but I really like that opportunity talking to young people. It feels very easy to relate to them and just listening, just being an ear for them, but not too much that, just rolling into it and then looking forward to a couple of weeks of 4-day weeks. So yay, we get through January.
Director Watts.
Love having Flight here. It made me a little bit like, oh, so much. But those kids, I just love them so much, and just love music. So how great is that? Thank you for everything. Mary and I got to participate in a little meeting that we're setting up with Arlington High School. PTE programs, some of their healthcare are gonna come to the hospital.
Oh, right,
And do a tour, and we'll have a panel of staff that will be talking with them about why we got into our profession and how you can come right out of high school and work in a hospital, and then what we can offer for you to advance your career with tuition reimbursement. So got to meet with Brian and Lisa and the planning. So in March, I get to report out on how it all went, but I was so excited that we could bring Arlington to our local hospital.
Good. That's very nice. Yep.
Yes, thank you. That's,
It
I'm
was
excited
great.
too. I want to take a second and introduce a new face in the room.
Mhm.
Dr. Sweeting, do you want to tell us about our recent change in the
Yes.
district?
So with the academic Chrisman move upstairs to financial services, and we have brought on board Britt Lyman, and we're very pleased, and she's here sitting right alongside, our Brenda Dobry, and she just learning so that she can back Brenda up on those on an occasional moment.
Try to go really slow, just for you. Yes. We're so excited to have you join us. I want to share that I also was incredibly grateful to be recognized. It's pretty awesome to serve on the school board, and especially with such a talented, diverse, unique, incredibly insightful group. It's pretty great to have such a good team, and it's really fun to have the students come and share their love. Thank you for everybody putting that together. I did get to go to the basketball game last Friday at the high school. There was a doubleheader with the girls team and the boys team, and the band played for both of them, and they honored our former basketball coach. And oh, that was a tearjerker. Mr. Marsh, and his whole family was there, and it was pretty incredible. And we won both games, so it was pretty awesome. But it was really incredible to see those kids play that basketball so fast, and like just they basically bounce off the floor. Like they fall down and they get right back up again. And I just thought, if I fell down, there's I don't know how long it would take me to get back. But it's just fun to see all of our talented kids in the district and all the families that they have. And looking forward to tomorrow night, meeting with Lakewood. They're also quite an amazing group of people. And when I was chatting with one of the board members at Stanwood during our recent annual conference in Seattle, she was saying that they would love to interact with us and chat with us too. And Marysville eventually also someday. They've still got a lot of work to do, but they mentioned that was a really incredible opportunity. That what we have with Lakewood is something that they are envious of and would love to see. So I want to remind everybody about our next meetings. Tomorrow, we have our special joint meeting with our Lakewood School District Board tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. In the Lincoln Room upstairs. And then we have our next study session on Monday, January 26th at 4 p.m. upstairs, followed directly by our regular meeting at 6 p.m. That's it. Unless there's anything else, I would
like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. It's been moved by Director Diamond to adjourn the meeting and seconded by Director Knapp. Director Diamond?
You're muted.
Director Diamond, are you there?
Oh, I unmuted. Sorry, aye.
Director Kelly?
Aye.
Director Watts?
Aye.
President Levesque? Aye. Director Knapp?
Yes.
All right, meeting's adjourned. Have a good night. Bye, Matt.
See you, everyone.
You